to seeds, jobs, and to training opportunities. We first documented this in 2010, and there's little evidence that any action has been taken by the EU to monitor the negative and partisan impact of development assistance to Ethiopia. Concerns over the political capture of aid continue to come up regularly in our research. Now, while EU development assistance makes an invaluable contribution to much-needed poverty eradication efforts in Ethiopia, it also has this unintended side effect of increasing the government's repressive capacity by contributing to the reliance that Ethiopians have on the government for their livelihood and ultimately for their survival, which further decreases the likelihood that they will be able to engage in open discussion with the government. Now, the EU has chosen to employ quiet diplomacy with Ethiopia in response to the dramatic deterioration in the human rights situation that has contributed to the current crisis. Turning a blind eye to the government's repressive actions is undermining the EU's priorities in the Horn of Africa and putting partnerships at risk, including in the areas of development assistance and migration. While the EU's approach has been counterproductive in dealing with human rights, there have been some positive steps taken. For example, in January, this parliament passed the strongest resolution in many years on Ethiopia. Many hoped that this would lead to a shift in policy from the EU, but so far that has not happened. We therefore call on you today, in close coordination with your national parliament counterparts, to use every opportunity to press the EU and its member states to take strong and urgent action to try to prevent an irreversible and worsening crisis in Ethiopia. In the context of sweeping abuses of free expression, assembly, and association, the recently announced state of emergency should prompt urgent questions regarding the government's plans for implementation. Under international human rights law, governments need to ensure that any measures to restrict freedom of expression and association are strictly required by the exigencies of the situation and strictly proportionate to the aim pursued. Importantly, emergency powers must never be applied in a discriminatory manner, nor stigmatize people of a particular ethnicity, religion, or social group. Worryingly, the government's announcement indicates that it does not intend to reverse course away from the use of force to deal with what are legitimate grievances. It is exactly that approach of the brutal suppression, the ability to peacefully express dissent that has gotten Ethiopia into the situation it is in today. In the short term, there are three critical actions for the EU. Firstly, the EU should continue to push for an international investigation into the brutal crackdown in Amhara and Oromia regions since November 2015 and the recent deaths at the Erecha festival. The EU statement at the Human Rights Council session in September was a positive first step in pushing for this. The EU should also be pushing for Ethiopia to invite the UN Special Rapporteurs and other special procedures, 11 of whom have outstanding requests for access to the country. Ethiopia has not permitted a single UN Special Rapporteur since 2007, other than the Special Rapporteur on Eritrea. And as everyone knows, Ethiopia is the Vice President of the Human Rights Council. It should be leading by example. Secondly, the EU should publicly call on Ethiopia to release all of those arbitrarily detained during the protests, including opposition leaders like Bekele Gerba. For those who are not familiar with Bekele, he was the deputy chairman for the Oromo Federalist Congress, which is a legally registered opposition party, and a staunch advocate for nonviolent approaches to address Oromo grievances. He was arrested in December 2015, charged under the anti-terrorism law. His trial continues. Being a peaceful and outspoken critic of the current government should not be defined as terrorism. And thirdly, the EU should publicly press for the lifting of government restrictions on the right to freedom of information and expression, including lifting restrictions on the internet and social media, as well as halting the jamming of lawful broadcasts. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Voy a dar la palabra ahora de nuevo a la jefa de división de África del Este del Servicio Europeo de Acción Exterior, la señora Claudia Vidi, por 5 minutos.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for this presentation by Felix Horn. I think we have all seen and read the reports from Human Rights Watch, from Amnesty, international, from other local and international organizations on the human rights situation in Ethiopia. And I think we agree that they are a big cause for concern and worry. We have discussed, and we continue to discuss, the situation at great length with our Ethiopian interlocutors here in Addis Ababa and in the margins of every major forum that we have and that we find. And we really call very much for inclusive discussions to address the situation in its real impact and in its real causes. We all know that the government of Ethiopia has gone back into internal reflection for some time to analyze from their point of view the situation, what led to it, the root causes of the situation, and has come out partly in the speech of the president also that was given to the parliament, what they see as the main causes, as the main reasons behind, and the main ways forward. But I think it is very clear that the answers provided so far to address the legitimate grievances of the people in Ethiopia do not satisfy what people are asked for and what people do expect. And they do not feel that their concerns have been taken really on board. So I think we see that despite internal deliberations and communications from the government, I mean, we have seen that public unrest and protests have continued with different hotspots spreading into different regions in the country. And I would say we have seen new level of violence recently. You mentioned the very dramatic and tragic Eritrea festival, which led many people dead. We have seen attacks from the population and particularly from youth on private investment in different places, investment that includes European investment, European Ethiopian investment from a number of our member states, tourist lodges that have been burned down to the ground. A lot of places that actually provide employment, much needed employment to the youth and to people. And we can only see that as a massive expression of the level of frustration and dissatisfaction of the population, and particularly the youth. We all know that the government has decided as a reaction and as a response to introduce a state of emergency over the weekend. We have reacted by a statement on this one already by calling very much on the respect for human rights at all times. And it is particularly important at a time when a country is in a state of emergency that human rights remain to be respected. And we have again called very much to go into a dialogue with the people who utter their grievances, and not just pass the messages to them, but that there is a genuine dialogue that talks to the people that are frustrated, unhappy, and increasingly see themselves not being able to express their grievances in Ethiopia. We have had several bilateral discussions with the Ethiopian authorities in Ethiopia, in Brussels, and in other places where we happen to meet, where we have expressed this very strongly. And we have also expressed that we will monitor very closely how this state of emergency is actually being used and translated in reality, because that will be a strong indication to what extent I think there is a genuine commitment to engage with the people or not. Our heads of missions in Addis Ababa have requested a political dialogue at the highest level with the Prime Minister, what we call Article 8 dialogue, to also discuss recent events and obviously also the state of emergency. As I said, we will continue to follow this very, very closely because we, in particular, the implementation of the state of emergency, because we consider that vital. We believe and we use every opportunity to try to build a dialogue which is a dialogue in a proper sense, where we can really exchange views and where we can try to push the position that we have, which is principled and value-based. I mean, the EU stands for values, and it is clear that we kind of convey them in every meeting. We do not believe that the situation can be in any way improved or even solved by resorting to violence. That is very clear, and this is a message that we pass every time. Of course, we look into how this will affect our bilateral relation EU with Ethiopia. And when I say that, I mean it also collectively. We did not yet have, following the adoption or the introduction of the state of emergency, we did not yet have the time to consult in a kind of more comprehensive way with our member states, but that is something that is happening now. It's clear that it will have an impact on our engagement with and our relation with Ethiopia. Let me say one word on the strategic engagement that was signed earlier this year by President Juncker. This strategic engagement provides us with a frame. It provides us with a frame to deepen dialogue in specific areas. Governance and human rights is one of them. We have not yet moved, if you like, on the implementation of this strategic engagement. Because, I mean, this type of complex agreements take some time to translate them into real action. One of the first actions that was actually seen was the joint hosting of a major business event. That was foreseen for November, for mid-November. This has been postponed. I think we agreed that this is not, and we addressed it also with our Ethiopian counterparts, this is not the time to organize a kind of a forward-looking investment event for European investment. The signals that come out of Ethiopia right now would be totally counterproductive, and it would operate in a wrong environment. So that we have not kind of started really launching the other kind of dialogues that are foreseen under the strategic engagement. But it is an important tool to use. And I think we have agreed with Ethiopia that the governance and human rights dialogue will be the first one that will be activated and will be leading to a discussion in Addis, I hope with high-level presence from headquarters as well. And that is shared with member states. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Siento apremiarles, pero hay muchas palabras y tenemos que acabar a las 10:30. Queremos escuchar a Hans Stosswold, que es el jefe de unidad de coordinación de desarrollo África del Este y el Sur de la Comisión Europea de DEFCO. Les ruego que sean breves porque tienen que hablar los diputados también y la señora McCavan, así que ya sé que es feo interrumpirles, pero es que no tengo mucho tiempo. Gracias.
Thanks a lot, and I will definitely try to be concise. And I think Claudia, my colleague with whom we work very, very closely, has already covered most of the points. When it comes to development assistance, it's clear that we work inside the political framework that is being defined by our colleagues in the EEAS, and we are fully aligning our development programs and projects to the strategic engagement and to the political process that are in place. I want to just mention the fact that development cooperation is based on the Cotonou Agreement, and the basic principle is partnership. And that's obviously something that we take very, very seriously. And I do think together with the Ethiopian government, we have managed to support a process that has brought significant development benefits for the people of Ethiopia. We have this year a serious drought, the El Nino, if you compare to the effect of that, and I'm not underestimating the problems we are seeing, but if you compare with that with the situation we saw in 83, 85, we have not needed Bono in this occasion to actually come up with an adequate response. And I think this is a testimony to the enormous effort that the government of Ethiopia have managed to do on the development side. I do not want here to enter into a discussion on the allegations related to the villagization program, etc. We were fully aware of the concern that was expressed, and I think the best testimony that we actually took notice of the concern that was expressed was that we decided to stop our support to that program. I also want to draw the attention of the group to the fact that although we work very closely with the government on the priorities, all our programs are directly targeted to benefit the population of Ethiopia. Ethiopia has so far been the main beneficiary of the new emergency trust fund. We have allocated some 97 million euro to Ethiopia, and these are all programs that target very specifically the needs of people in the most vulnerable situations, the refugees, the peoples in the area that are most still affected by the drought and by other drivers of displacement in this context, the climate change. It is correct, Ethiopia, on the basis of the methodology we have used for the allocation under the 11th EDF, is the biggest beneficiary for the 11th EDF. It has a national program on some 745 million euro, out of which by the end of this year we would have committed, not implemented, but committed around 500 million euro. So we are indeed moving forward with a program that is inscribed in the programming document. A programming document that does contain quite significant financial provisions for governance and civil society support. I do take the point of Felix that in Ethiopia, the reality is you do not do traditional human rights activities. We are working inside a framework that somehow limits our possibilities, and this is correct. I'm not rejecting that. However, we do try, and I think there is an understanding on the side of the government that strengthening civil society is a very important priority, and we are working on that. I think I stop here in the interest of time, Mrs. Chair.
Muchísimas gracias. Voy a dar la palabra también por unos pocos minutos a la señora Beatriz Mies, jefe del sector para el Cuerno de África de DG ECO. Adelante.
Thank you very much. I will also be very brief. Well, maybe just to start with by mentioning that, as you know, if we want to maintain humanitarian aid, we need to remain neutral, independent, and impartial, which means that, we don't have such as the alignment to the government policies, which is, of course, a certain helps. Just to describe very quickly, because again, we are confronted here now with a human rights crisis, so which cannot be named a humanitarian crisis, but of course in parallel there is a humanitarian crisis in Ethiopia going on. And Strasbourg just mentioned the food insecurity linked to El Nino, which yes, I agree, has not been at the scale as what we saw 10, 20, 30 years ago. Still, the impact of El Nino in Ethiopia since 2015 and mostly in 2016 has been quite significant. We are speaking around more than 17 million people affected by food insecurity, and within these 17 million, 9.7 million were in need of humanitarian assistance. The rest of the people, so which is a large part, was basically helped by the government-led safety net program. We cannot, of course, not mention also internally displaced people in Ethiopia. We are speaking about more than 700,000 also internally displaced by different causes, being, of course, inter-ethnic clashes, which is one, but also food insecurity is another one. And then, of course, and it has been largely mentioned, the refugee crisis. Ethiopia is still, for the time being, the biggest host country in Africa for refugees, with around 741,000 refugees. The main caseload for the time being are South Sudanese, Somali, Eritrean, and the Sudanese. Again, on this caseload, I would just like to say that maybe a part of the case of the Eritrean, we are not speaking about migrants here. We are speaking about refugees who are fleeing a difficult situation and mostly a conflict in their own country, and who are just willing to go back if the situation was to evolve in their own country. Now, of course, we are not naive, and I was saying that we need to remain neutral, impartial, and independent. But we are working in Ethiopia, so we are, of course, monitoring very closely now. Not so much basically the clashes that were up to now not affecting our programming, but basically the state of emergency. Depending on the measures that will be put in place in different areas where we may have program, we will have to look at what is the access for our humanitarian partners. We need absolutely to have the access. We want to be able to do the assessment, and we want to be able to do the monitoring of our project. So we want a direct access to these places, otherwise we may have to stop some of things. And the second one will be security. Again, we have no proven impact for the time being on humanitarian partners, but if there was a problem of security, that would of course have also an impact on what we are doing currently in Ethiopia. Just as an information, this year is an exceptional year in terms of funding because of El Nino, because we are implementing 165 million euro in Ethiopia. We are normally around 25 to 30 million euro. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Doy la palabra ahora a la presidenta de la Comisión de Desarrollo, Linda McCavan.
Thank you, Chair. I can see you're under a huge time pressure here, so I'm going to be very brief and say we heard from DG DevCo about Ethiopia being the biggest recipient of aid, and I think and the results that aid has given, and I think it's in everybody's interest to see Ethiopia continue to improve human development and to be a stable country and a stable partner for the European Union. But there are real concerns about the human rights situations. Anybody in politics knows you will always have opposition. That's obvious. You know, with even inside your own side, you have opposition in anybody in politics, and that has to be accepted as part of life. And we know about El Nino. We know the difficult situation in Ethiopia in many respects. At the same time, I think it will be self-defeating if we don't have some recognition that opposition is normal. Peaceful opposition is normal. People will not always agree with you, and any system has to find a way to manage that peacefully, democratically, and in respect for human rights. So I think this has been a very good idea to have this hearing today. I hope that our message goes through to the Ethiopians, and I hope that we can work together to get the kind of democratic, stable Ethiopia, which is going in the right direction, delivering a better life for the people of its country.
Thank you very much. Tengo dos palabras pedidas por la señora Gómez y la señora Lockbiller. Tienen un minuto. Un minuto. Ustedes son muy eficaces en un minuto, pero un minuto.
I would prefer to believe indeed that the Commission officers are naive, because otherwise they would be liars. The situation in Ethiopia is indeed as terrible as Mr. Horn described here. It is no democratic country. Only the FN Front National member was here, considered it a young democracy, as the Commission and the External Action Services seem to think of Ethiopia as a democratic partner. It's a country where the government, totally legitimate, not coming out of elections, is killing the people. And it's really outrageous that the EU puts out statements like this one that came out, that actually pretends that the parliament is a place for dialogue, and that the state of emergency implies respecting human rights when it is a glaring violation of human rights. And I would only second the recommendation that were made by Mr. Felix Horn. The EU needs to clearly, in a way that the people of Ethiopia hear, call for this independent, impartial investigation of the repression that has been going on, including the Erecha massacre. Call for the lifting of the state of emergency, including the controls on the internet, the cuts on the internet and the media, and of course the liberation of political prisoners that include opposition members. And that is going on and has continued even yesterday after Madame Merkel, under the state of emergency, visited that country, to our collective shame.
Bastante claro. Señora Lockbiller, por favor.
Danke, Frau Vorsitzende. Wenn es möglich ist, ich habe eine Frage an eine Frage an Horn von Human Rights Watch. Sie haben uns jetzt sehr gut berichtet über die Situation der Oromos. Können Sie auch etwas über den Ogaden sagen? Und der zweite Punkt, also das Statement der Regionalität vorbei. Und ich denke, dass die Europäische Union hier weit hinter den eigenen Ansprüchen zurückfällt, konkret Menschenrechtsverletzungen auch zu benennen. Und ich denke, dass wir zukünftig das EAS die Politik ändern sollte. Jetzt auf die Reise der deutschen Kanzlerin angesprochen. Sie haben meine Kanzlerin. Wir haben also 5 afrikanische Staaten, mit denen die EU eine Migrationspartnerschaft macht. 3 hat sie jetzt besucht, Mali, Niger und Äthiopien. Der Anlass für Äthiopien war, ein von Deutschland finanziertes Haus der Afrikanischen Union einzuweihen. Aber ich glaube, dass der Hintergrund schon ist, dass man keine Kritik übt, weil man eben von Äthiopien und den anderen Staaten möchte, dass sie die Migranten und die Flüchtlinge im Land behalten. Und wenn das jetzt der Anfang ist von der Beziehungen, die die EU hat mit den Staaten, mit denen wir eine Migrationspartnerschaft machen, wenn das bedeutet, keine Menschenrechte-Kritik mehr zuzulassen, weil man eben solche Länder für sicher ansieht oder für gut, dann glaube ich, gehen wir hier schwierigen Zeiten entgegen im Menschenrechtsausschuss, weil die Menschenrechtsverletzungen lösen sich ja nicht auf, wenn man nicht darüber spricht. Danke.
Gracias, señora Lockbiller, señora Vergiat y luego el señor Adaktusson. Pero no, primero la señora Vergiat y luego el señor Adaktusson.
Oui, merci Madame la Présidente. Je voudrais m'associer à ce qui a été dit précédemment par Anna Gomez et Barbara Lochbihler. Je voudrais remercier Monsieur Borne de son exposé, m'associer donc aux inquiétudes, le mot est faible d'ailleurs, que nous pouvons avoir et aux conséquences de l'état d'urgence, compte tenu de ce que vous nous avez dit sur ce qui se passait avant l'état d'urgence. Et on sait ce qu'il en est d'un état d'urgence. Je comprends bien toutes les précautions utilisées par les représentants de la Commission européenne et du service européen des affaires extérieures, mais quand même, il y a des limites. Je crois que beaucoup de choses ont été dites quand on nous a dit tout à l'heure que les pays africains ne comprenaient pas l'obsession des Européens par rapport aux questions migratoires. Compte tenu de leur situation sur place, ça se comprend. Les mouvements de population entre les différents pays, notamment dans cette zone-là, sont sans commune mesure avec ce que nous pouvons connaître dans l'Union européenne. Donc effectivement, ils ne peuvent pas comprendre. Il y a une chose, moi, qui m'a frappée, que j'avais vue, mais je pense qu'il faut souligner, c'est quand des élections produisent un résultat avec 100% des sièges pour le parti au gouvernement, ça veut tout dire. Hein, il n'y a pas besoin d'en dire plus. Donc, ça devrait déjà être un élément qui alerte et qui permet de nuancer un certain nombre de choses avec tout le respect que nous pouvons avoir pour l'ensemble des partenaires, à condition de ne pas être ridicule quand même dans ces partenariats. Et je crois que c'est ce qui est en train de faire l'Union européenne. Je partagerai volontiers ce qu'a dit Anna sur le fait de savoir si nos interlocuteurs sont naïfs ou menteurs. Je crains, moi, qu'ils soient cyniques. Ce qui est encore une autre façon de voir les choses. Et j'ai une question qui se pose à nous tous. Dans ce que vous nous avez dit, moi qui m'a particulièrement interpellée, même si je sais ce qu'il en est, c'est la question de la traçabilité des financements européens. Et je crois qu'en Éthiopie, c'est tout particulièrement important, en termes de crédibilité pour l'Union européenne, en termes de crédibilité pour les interlocuteurs que nous pouvons avoir sur place et qui nous appellent à l'aide en ce moment. Donc je pense que nous avons un travail tout particulier à faire en la matière et je me félicite du couple, si je puis dire, qui préside à cette réunion parce que je pense que c'est comme ça que nous pouvons avancer sur ces questions.
Merci beaucoup. Mr. Adaktusson, for 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Chair. I will be very brief, and if you don't mind, I will switch to Swedish. Jag vill ta upp ett fall av kränkningar av mänskliga rättigheter, ett specifikt fall. Det handlar om Fikru Maru, en känd
svensk läkare som sedan 3 år tillbaka sitter fängslad i Etiopien. Han greps misstänkt för delaktighet i en korruptionshärva, men har enligt den svenska regeringen är han oskyldig, och omständigheterna kring den här rättegången som har ägt rum är mycket märkliga. Och jag vill fråga utrikestjänsten, eftersom den här läkaren just nu är allvarligt sjuk och behöver en transport tillbaka till Sverige så fort som möjligt. Jag vill fråga utrikestjänsten om ni känner till det här fallet och vad ni kan göra för att underlätta en lösning på det här fallet. Tack.
Bueno, tengo un gravísimo problema de tiempo, también tengo un gravísimo problema de ruido, así que pido a todo el mundo que está en la sala que por favor se mantenga en silencio. Tengo una petición de la representación diplomática del gobierno de Etiopía para tomar la palabra por 2 minutos. Nuestra cortesía parlamentaria habitual es que concedemos ese tiempo a las representaciones diplomáticas. Creo que la pregunta del señor Adaktusson es muy importante, no sé si están en medida de contestarla ya, si no, por favor, por escrito, y voy a dar por 2 minutos la palabra a la Embajada de Etiopía. 2 minutos.
Thank you very much, Chair. Allow me first to thank and appreciate this committee for its concern, its interest to exchange information on the current situation of my country. May I also take this opportunity to thank the EU for its relentless support, including at this difficult time. As you know, EU is one of Ethiopia's main development partners. Our strong cooperation in the area of migration, peace and security, and climate change is also exemplary. Madam Chair, despite the impressive economic development registered in Ethiopia, and partly because of it, we have witnessed demonstrations against the government in some parts of the country. As there were legitimate causes for those demonstrations, it's also a public knowledge that almost all demonstrations were hijacked by anti-peace elements whose leaders are living in Europe and the United States. Subsequently, we have witnessed loss of life, destruction of assets, injuries, and it creates a sense of insecurity among our citizens. My country is deeply saddened and sorrowed by the loss of lives and damage. Madam Chair and Honorables, we believe we exercise democracy in Ethiopia not to please others. We do it because our people and our country needs it. With more than 80 ethnic groups in the country, we do not have any other better option than exercising democracy in full. In this regard, democracy is not a luxury for us. It is an issue of survival. It is an issue whether to continue as one country or not. We believe, however, Madam Chair, that we cannot import democracy. We believe in dialogue. We believe in discussions. As respected Dr. Claudia said, we will do it, but we do not believe in importing democracy. It's for the people, and we believe it should come from within, actually, the democracy. As you are all aware, Honorables, it's been only 25 years since we started to exercise democracy. In the last 25 years, we have achieved encouraging results in the field of democracy and human rights. We have held 5 national elections and several district elections also. Every ethnic group in the country has its own seat in the House of Federation. The House of People's Representatives is another democratic institution. We have established an Office of Ombudsman. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission is doing an impressive job in terms of holding independent investigations based on the UK recommendations. We have developed an action plan and implement accordingly. This doesn't mean, however, Honorables, that there are no challenges in the country. We have tremendous challenges, but we believe with discussion with this group, we will achieve more results. If you give me 30 seconds to reply what Mr. Felix has said, just few seconds actually, regarding the discrimination of the Oromo people. I don't understand that, and I just want to say these few words actually. The region Oromia is administered by Oromian themselves. The parliament is 32% occupied by the Oromos. House of Federation is majority of Oromos in Ethiopia. The head of the state, Dr. Mulatu Teshome, is an Oromo. The Speaker of the House of People's Representatives is an Oromo. The Cabinet of Ministers in Ethiopia, more than 1/3 of the cabinet is given to the Oromo people. Having this reality, I don't understand where the discrimination is coming from. And finally, just regarding the implementation of the state of emergency, I just would like to assure you the functioning of humanitarian support in Ethiopia, and of course the discussion with different parts in the country, the inclusion of political parties and civil society will be ensured, as it's been stated by the President in the State of Union in the country and by the Prime Minister as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We will be following very closely the situation in Ethiopia. We hope the human rights situation will improve. Can I thank colleagues for taking part? I'm going to close this joint meeting. Thank you. And we continue with the Human Rights Subcommittee.
Estamos completamente fuera de tiempo. Oui, il est là, le ministre. Vous faites passer le ministre, même si M. Brock n'est pas là. Où est le ministre? Where is the minister, the vice minister? Bueno, vamos a comenzar, por favor. Estamos esperando al señor Brock, pero vamos tan fuera de tiempo que, con permiso, por favor, please. Come on. Vamos a esperar, o sea, no vamos a esperar al señor Brock porque vamos muy mal de tiempo. En cuanto llegue se incorporará. Esta audiencia que teníamos prevista sobre el Estado de Derecho en Turquía viene precedida y de manera separada por un intercambio de puntos de vista con el señor Ali Sahin, que es el viceministro de Asuntos Europeos de Turquía. Él estaba en Bruselas y manifestó su interés por dirigirse a nuestros comités, así que, sin más preámbulo y agradeciéndole su presencia, le doy la palabra al señor ministro. Adelante.
Dear chairs and members of committee, first of all, I would like to thank you for setting such a nice meeting. And also I would like to thank you all for siding soon after the coup attempt in Turkey with the democracy, with the human rights, with the rule of law in Turkey. If you allow me, I would like to make my speech in Turkish language. I think there is a translation. From now on, I will continue to speak in my language, in Turkish language. I think we are ready. Yes. Yeah.